Well, hey everybody, it's Mr. Reeves, and I am with you now to work through some practice problems from the lesson 5.1 in the Math 7 textbook, percent increase and decrease. I've already made 2 previous videos on this particular lesson. Hopefully you watched those, including the one that was an Ed Puzzle video. And now I'm going to work through, like I always do anytime we have an HMH assignment, some of the problems from the practice. All right, so here we go. So it starts off by saying find each percent increase, or each percent of increase, round to the nearest percent. Okay, and I do want to remind you, as I did in my previous videos, that using a calculator will be super duper helpful and is highly recommended for this assignment. Okay, so remember, if you have an increase, the price is going up. And remember, if you want to find the percent of change, the ratio that you need is, all right, you need the change in value over the original value. Okay, the change in value over the original value. So if we look from 5 to 8 on the top of our fraction, we're going to do 8 minus 5, because we're always going to do the larger minus the smaller so we don't get a negative answer. All right, and the bottom is 5, right? The change, you find the change by subtracting. 8 minus 5 is 3, and we get 3/5. Now that is always going to give you a fraction, and then what we want to do is we want to change that fraction to a decimal, and then we want to change that decimal to a percent. Now just a reminder again, you can always change any fraction into a decimal simply by dividing. Alright, but before I show you what that answer is, this is one that you should know, alright, because 3 divided by 5 is equal to 6 divided by 10, and that of course is 60%. But if you did not remember that, that's okay. 3 divided by 5, and you get 0.6, which is 60%. Okay? All right, what about from 86 books to 150 books? Again, I'm going to do 150 minus 86, right? The change in value over the original value, which was 86. All right, so I'm going to go to my handy dandy calculator. Did I close the calculator? Oh my goodness, I meant to minimize the calculator and I closed the calculator. When will I learn? All right, here we go. Get that out of the way. And now my calculator's gone. All right, let me try this again. 150 minus 86. I'm going to subtract to find that change in value, and that gives me 64. And then on the bottom I have 86. So that gives me the fraction, and then I need to change that fraction to a decimal. 64 divided by 86 is, all right, we get this really long decimal. All right, I'm going to put 0.7442. All right, 0.7442. Now that's the decimal, okay? Now what are they asking for? They want the percent, and to change a decimal to the percent, you move it 2 places to the right, but they want us to round to the nearest percent. So it's either going to be 74% or 75%. So you look at that next number, and it's a 4. It's a 4. In fact, let me just take that 2 off there. 0744. If we just get in the habit of writing the first 3 digits, that's all we'll need. And since 4 is less than halfway up, we are going to round down, and our answer is going to be 74%. 74%. Okay? So we did those 2. We're increased. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a decrease. A decrease. All right, so here we go. From 80 to 64. Again, remember, it's the same formula every time. That's why I think this section is kind of easier than some that we've done. Percent change is equal to the change in value over the original value. Okay, the change in value over the original value. So here we go. So I need to do 80 minus 64 over 80. And this one's going down, so this is a decrease. All right, so 80 minus 64, I know even without a calculator that is 16. All right, 16 over 80. Again, we could simplify. There's a lot of mental math we could do here, but I'm just going to, for the sake of simplicity, remind you that once you have that fraction, you just divide the numerator by the denominator, and I get 0.2, which of course is the same as 0.20, which is 20%. Now I'm kind of feeling kind of bad that I didn't simplify that further by dividing by 8. Then I would have gotten 2/10. But, oh well. All right, 90 points to 45 points. So I'm going to do 90 minus 45 over my original. Again, my original was 90. This is a decrease. Well, 90 minus 45 is 45 over 90. Okay, this one I am most definitely not using a calculator on. All right, 45 is half of 90, and everybody in my class knows that 1/2 is 50%. Okay, we could have done that on the calculator, but we're not going to. Okay, so there's a couple percent of decrease problems. Again, it's the same thing, just find the change in the value by subtracting, always the larger minus the smaller, and then divide it by the original value. Okay, put that in your calculator, change it from the decimal answer you got to the percent, and you will be in business. All right, what about finding the new amount? Okay, so now instead of having us find the percent of change, they're going to give us the percent of change, and then they're going to ask us what the new amount is. Okay, so we want a 10% increase. All right, so again, it is super duper important that you watch my previous video on this. If we have the 10% increase, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have the original, right? We're going to have the original 100% plus 10%. Okay, so what we want is we're going to want 110% because it's an increase of 9. And in that video, I talked about changing 110% to 1.10. Talked about how of means to multiply. All right, so we take our percent, change it to a decimal, and then we're going to, again, go back to our calculator if we want to. 1.10 for 110% times 9. That was our original value, and we get 9.9. So 9 increased by 10% is 9.9. All right. What about 48 cookies? This time we're decreasing 25%. So again, if you're decreasing, you're going to take your original 100%, but now you're going to subtract 25%. All right. And by the way, I should have written here 100% plus 10% is 110%, right? 100% minus 25% is 75%. So what do we want? We want 75% of 48, okay? And again, 75%, I'm going to change that to a decimal, 0.75. We move the decimal 2 places to the left to make it from a percent to a decimal. We go 2 places to the right to go from a decimal to a percent. All right. Of, again, means multiply, so we're going to do 75% of 48. And again, quick mental math, 3/4 of 48 is going to be 36. But if you did not know that, we can use our calculator. 0.75 times 48 is 36. There it is. All right, so our answer is 36. And again, when you get an answer, you should always look at your answer and go, does that answer make sense? Well, it was a decrease by 25%. So 36 makes sense. It makes total sense, right? Because 25 is 1/4. 1/4 of 48 is 12, and 48 minus 12 is 36. All right? Okay, let me do this one, number 21. Adam currently runs about 20 miles per week. He wants to increase his weekly mileage by 30%. How many miles will he run per week? So currently he is at 20 miles, right? So we have 100% and he's increasing. So we're going to add 30%. So what do we want? We want 130%, right? What do we want 130% of? We want 130% of what he's doing now, which is 20. Okay, so 130% of 20. Well, 130%, I'm going to move that decimal. It's going to be 1.30 times 20. Okay, and again, I can go to my calculator, and I'm going to go 1.30 times 20. And the answer I get is 26. How many miles will he run? 26 miles. He was running 20. We added 30%. 30% of 20 is 6, right? So this part right here was 20, and then we added 6 for a total of 26. Alrighty. Okay, well, let's do a few of the word problems from the assignment, and then we will be done. Actually, I want to look at this table because I know there's one like here. All right, one like what is here on the assignment. All right, so increase or decrease. So if it went from 110 to 96, let me ask you, if it went from 110 to 96, did it go up or did it go down? That's right, it went down, so that would be a decrease. If it went from 45 to 56, did it go up or did it go down? Right, this one was down, this one is up, so that is an increase. To me, knowing whether it's an increase or a decrease is the easiest part. All right, so now we'll need to find the percent change. Well, remember, the percent change is what? It's the change in value over the original value, right? The change in value over the original value. So I need to do 110 minus 96 over what was my original 110. All right, well, 110 minus 96. Okay, again, you could do it mental math, or you can go to your calculator. What are we going to get? 14, I believe, as our answer. We get 14 over 110. Now, we want to change that to a decimal, so we go 114 divided by 110, and we get 1.033. All right, so what do we have here? 1.03636363636. All right, so what does that tell us? That tells us that our new percent is 103% of the old percent. So really what we want to know is, what is this part right there? What is that part? So if we simply do 14 divided by 110 rather than 114, that's what I should have done, right? I should have simply done 14 divided by 110. That's what we wanted. That was my mistake. I don't know why I did 114. So 14 divided by 110, all right, is 1.272727. Now I'm going to go 3 places, all right, 0.127. And they want us usually to round to the nearest percent, so I'm going to move that over, and I get 12.7%, but 12.7 rounded to the nearest percent is going to be 13%. All right, so this right here is, I'm going to put it in red, 13%. 13% is our percent of decrease. It went down, not up. I do not know what I was thinking when I did 114. Again, I apologize. It's the change over the original value. 14 was the change, not 114. 14 over 110 is 13%. Okay? All right, this one right here, I'm going to do 56 minus 45, all right, over my original value, which was 45. Let's see if I can do this one without messing up. 56 minus 45, that would be 11 over 45. So I'm going to do 11 over 45. All right, let's see if we can do this one. 11 over 45. And what do I get as an answer? 0.244. 0.244. Again, I'm going to move that 2 places to the left, and I get 24.4%. All right, if I round that to the nearest percent, that one's going to go down to 24% because that number is less than 5, right? Here, that number was bigger than 5 or 5 or bigger. If it's 5 or bigger, you round up. If it's less than 5, you round down. So this one is 24%. All right, this one right here, we have a 5% increase, right? So for this one, what would we need? We would need 105% of 79. This one is a 25% decrease, right? So this we would need 75% of 580. Again, when it's an increase, you add, right? So this is 100 plus 5%, which is 105%. This one right here is going to be 100 minus 25. That's what we got, 75%. And remember, to do this, you multiply, right? So 105% is going to become 1.05 times 79, and we should get an answer bigger than 79, and we get 82.95. And remember, this is money, guys. $82.95. Money should always have the dollar sign at the front and then 2 decimal places. All right, 0.75, 75% of 580. What do we get on that one? $435. Okay, $435. Now this one, because they did not put anything on here, I would probably let you get away with that because it's 0, 0. All right, but you could do that as well. But you would not want to put just 1 decimal place. If you're going to put a decimal place on it, put 2. If it doesn't have anything after it, it's okay to leave it off. All right, so 435 with nothing or 435 with 2 zeros. All right. Okay, and again, I apologize for messing up on that one. A couple more, and then we are done. All right, so cheese sticks that were previously 5 for $1 are now 4 for $1. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to say if they were 5 for $1, not $5 for 1, that would be expensive for a cheese stick. 5, that'd be what it is at Disneyland. All right, 5 for $1. How much does that mean they are each? That means they are 20 cents each, right? If they are 4 for $1, that means they are 25 cents each, right? So remember, if we're going to find the percent of change, right, we're going to find the change in value over the original value. Change in value, I keep saying this, but it's what you got to remember. The change in value over the original value. All right, so what was the change in value? Well, it went from 20 cents to 25 cents. So the change in value was 5 cents over what was the original value, 20 cents, right? So the change in value was 5 cents because it was 25 minus 20 over 20. Probably should have written that, okay? Well, again, let's do this one without a calculator. We could do this. 5 over 20, that simplifies to 1/4, and we have memorized that 1/4 is 0.25, so the change in value was 25%. All right, so the cost was 25% higher. All right. Now, it is interesting, though. They said find the percent decrease in the number of cheese sticks you can buy and find the percent of increase in the price. You know what I did? I did the price one. I am so sorry. This one is the price, right? So I did the change in price. This one was for the price, right? So I did B before I did A. So we're going to switch these, okay? Now how many you can buy went from 5 to 4, right? So how many you could buy? You originally could buy 5. Now you can only buy 4. So the change in how many you could buy was 1. How many could you originally buy? 5. And 1/5, again, is 0.20. We could put that in our calculator, and that is 20%. All right? So the amount you can buy for $1 is 20% less. The amount you're paying is 25% more. So 20% decrease in, 20% decrease in the number and 25% increase in price. Again, I apologize. I did not read carefully, and I went straight to the price when they asked first for the quantity. All right? So when you're doing this one, I'm pretty sure this one's on your homework assignment. Be very careful. What are they asking for? Are they asking for the percent increase in the price, or are they asking for the percent decrease in the number of cheese sticks? All right, one more involving a bank account. All right. Okay, it says Leroy and Sylvia both put $100 in a savings account. Good for them. Leroy decides he will put an additional $10 each week. Sylvia decides to put an additional 10% of the amount each week. So if we're looking at Leroy has $100, right? And if this is our week, then the first week he's going to add 10, right? Then he'll have 110, and then he'll add another 10, and then he'll have 120, and then he'll add another 10, and he'll have 130, and he just keeps adding 10 every week, right? 140, 150, 160, and so on. Okay, now what about Sylvia? Now Sylvia, Leroy is adding $10, right? Sylvia is adding 10%. So what do we need to ask ourselves? We need to ask ourselves, what is 10% of 100? What is 10% of 100? Well, 10% is, as a decimal, 0.10, and we multiply by 100, and guess what we get? We get $10. Guys, 10% is 1/10. If you want to know 10%, you can just divide by 10. So for week 1 right here, for week 1, Sylvia also adds $10. So at the end of week 1, guess what? They have the same amount. So who has more money after the first additional deposit? They have the same. Because 10% of 100 is 10. All right. So if you're thinking then, well, then she's just going to keep adding that amount, same as Leroy, right? But how much does she have now? Now she has $110. All right, she's going to put an additional 10% of the amount in the account. Well, how much is in her account? 110. So now the question is, what is 10% of 110? What is 10% of 110? Well, guess what it is? It's not 10 anymore. Now it's 11. Right? Because now we're doing 0.10 times 110, and that turns out to be 11. So she's adding $11. So instead of 120, now she has 121. So who has more money after the second initial deposit? That would be Sylvia. because she added $11, not 10. And the reason she added $11 is because 10% of 110 equals 11. All right. So what's going to happen? How are the accounts going to compare in a month, a year? All right. Okay. Since every week Sylvia adds more, her value will increase much faster than Leroy's. Sorry, Leroy. It was a good idea. Adding $10 a week is great, but adding 10% is better because 10% of bigger numbers gives you more. Leroy is adding 10% of 100 every week. All right. Sylvia is adding 10% of the larger amount every week. So only on the first week are the same. After that, Sylvia takes off, okay? In fact, his, if we made a graph, his is a straight line and hers curves like that. All right, so this, if we made a graph of it, there would be Sylvia and there would be Leroy. He's going up at a constant amount, but hers gets going up faster and faster and faster and faster. All right. Okay, that's all I have for you on these practice problems. Again, we are finding percent increase and decrease. I hope not just this video, but the previous two helped you master this topic. Until next time, have a great day.